Hello, good afternoon and welcome to News Today here on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. Coming up, opposing NPP rejects tag of intolerance, rather accuses governing NDC of not accommodating dissenting views. Chairperson of Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, calls for an all-hands-on-deck approach in ensuring free, fair and credible polls in December. And Ghana to continue enjoying stable electricity. Well, at least for the next few weeks. We'll tell you how shortly. We have more plus business, sports, entertainment and international news all coming up in the next hour. Stay with us. My name is Kwabna Chenche Hindibwati. Remember, this is your election headquarters. The Human Rights Court in Accra is set to deliver its final ruling on the dispute between the New Patriotic Party and its suspended chairman, Paul Awentemi-Afoko today. Paul Afoko sued the NPP in December 2015, claiming that his suspension by the party's National Executive Council breached the Constitution. Joined to the suit are the NPP and its acting chairman, Mr. Freddie Blay. Paul Afoko is also challenging the constitutionality of the party's disciplinary committee that recommended his suspension. Well, the decision is said to have been taken when the NPP's National Executive Committee unanimously voted to suspend Mr. Afoko indefinitely, thus upholding the decision by the disciplinary committee. The decision comes in the wake of an earlier petition by council to the disciplinary committee requested for Afoko to step aside until the 2016 general elections are done with. Mr. Afoko has been accused of working to undermine the party's chances of winning the December 7 elections. Well, my colleague Joseph Akable is in court and he'll be joining us pretty shortly as soon as there's a ruling on this very issue. Still on the NPP and the opposing NPP, that's the party has rejected assertions by the president and flag bearer of the governing NDC that the party is an intolerant one. Speaking on News Desk earlier today, spokesperson for the NPP's flag bearer, Mustafa Hamid, said contrary to suggestions by the NDC that the New Patriotic Party is an intolerant party, it is rather the NDC that has shown over time its inability to tolerate dissenting views. Mr. Hamid has also been speaking on why the NPP remains a better option as the country readies itself for the December polls. President Mahama yesterday accused the flag bearer of the NPP of intolerance, adding that Nana Akufo-Addo has introduced the culture of silence in the party, thereby alienating members with dissenting views.
It was said of the Bourbon dynasty that they learnt nothing and forgot nothing. The same can be said of the current leadership of our opponents. Developments in the largest opposition party threaten the democratic health of our country. It is said that the nature of an organization is founded on the character of its leadership. The largest opposition party has prided itself as the apostles of democracy. And this has metamorphosed in recent times into a very intolerant organization. Those who can hurl the most verbal abuse are the most respected and hailed in that party. They are patted on the back by the leadership for doing a good job. The soul of the party has been captured by the hawkish and intolerant fringe of the party. And this group has cowed the moderates and other level-headed members of the party into silence. Anyone who raises his or her voice against the current leadership is promptly savaged in the media and on other platforms. And even the former president, on whose record the party is running, has not been spared his share of these insults. The verbal abuse has led to a culture of silence in the party, and even though the emperor is wearing no clothes, everybody is afraid to tell him so.
But the NPP is rejecting the claim. Now, here is a spokesperson for the party's flag bearer, Mustafa Hamid.
They went to Sunyani and did all sorts of things against Mrs. Rawlings and compelled her to exit the party and form the National Democratic Party. They did all sorts of things against Guzitano and his people in 2000 and compelled them to go and form the National Reform Party. That is a mark of tolerance.
Subsequently, the NDC lost the elections.
You said?
Subsequently, they lost the elections.
Yes. But I'm just attacking your question that NPP does not tolerate dissenting views. And I'm giving you concrete examples of highest levels of intolerance in the NDC. That's what we should attack. We would come to what wins elections and does not win elections. So that's a separate matter. The factors based on which people win elections are not just when those people disagree. No. That's a different matter. And we are talking about dissension. He is saying that in our party, people are not allowed to hold dissenting views. And I'm giving you concrete examples of how people who held dissenting views were actually beaten with horse whips and chased out of the NDC. That's the point I'm making to you.
So it has to do with an issue of equalization now?
No, sir. I'm not talking about equalization. I'm just telling you that he doesn't qualify to say that in NPP, people are not allowed to hold dissenting views because we haven't shipped anybody. We haven't expelled people from our party and compelled them to go and form other parties because they held dissenting views. So I'm refuting his allegation that NPP is intolerant. I'm saying that we are not, and I'm saying that on the contrary, they are. So I haven't said that we are intolerant. If I said we are intolerant and they too are intolerant, that's equalization. I'm saying that there is no evidence to show that we are intolerant. And I told you that in our case, it is just a case of applying the rules, and every organization ought to have rules. And organizations survive because the rules of those organizations are obeyed and applied.
Well, it's a governing party poised to win a crucial election to secure a third consecutive term in power and a second term for its presidential candidate. The governing NDC yesterday presented itself as the most credible party to win the 2016 elections, touting its tall list of achievements in all sectors of the economy, narrated by its ministers and other bigwigs of the party. Now, this was all set in the newly built Cape Coast Sports Stadium, filled to capacity yesterday during the NDC's campaign launch. Fifi Kumsin reports.
Pomp and pageantry, jubilation reaching fever pitch at the packed to capacity Cape Coast Stadium. Party faithful in the four colors of the NDC mailed up and down or stood in the stands as ministers, executives and other bigwigs of the governing party took turns to tout the achievements of the party. Local government minister Collins Dauda likened President Mahama to a professional footballer on top of his game, and on the party continued the talk about how it's been able to change lives and transformed Ghana. We are going to shout to drive the elephant into the Ivorian.
53 million gallons.
President Mahama has embarked on many water projects. Wager, Gong, and other works are supplying huge amounts of water. He has dealt with our water problems.
Gallons and maku 40 a day. 40 million gallons of water a day.
But it also had a word for the opposition NPP. Join us because we are the winning team. Another high point was the arrival of former President Jerry Rawlings.
The NPP cannot be underestimated. You know it, I know it. They've been in existence for a long time and have been changing their names up till this day. The nature of who they are, what they are, where they've come from, is something they are happy with, and they will be there for a long time.
question I want to put before you is that by virtue of who and what they are, their mannerisms, their character, will necessarily give rise to what you and I are in the NDC.
With a white dove by his side, President Mahama urged the rank and file of the party to work to ensure he's retained in December, touching on the labor strikes, the power crisis, and other challenges his government has had to face.
Low level of the Volta Lake affected our power supply. Fellow Akatamansonians, our focus in the last 4 years has been on three main issues. One, to resolve the power crisis. Two, to stabilize the economy. And three, to improve our socio-economic infrastructure. With your understanding and cooperation, we have put the worst of the power crisis behind us. The fast-track addition of almost 1,000 megawatts of power to our generation has enabled us to balance supply against demand.
Mr. Mahama accused the opposition MPP of unwarranted attacks on the Electoral Commissioner and individuals who have endorsed the governing party. There is hope, he says.
And I'm positive that, inshallah, by the time I complete my second term in office, by the grace of God, Ghana would be one of the countries with the best road networks in Africa.
Party General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia announced the launch of the party's manifesto in 2 weeks in the Bono Ahafo regional capital of Sunyani.
We will be proceeding to Sunyani in some 2 weeks' time to launch the manifesto with which we will go into battle. In every election, you have the candidates you are going to market, you have your strategy, and you have the message. We have put together the campaign structure which will implement our strategy. We have the best candidates any party can get in the country. So the last tranche of events would be the outdooring of the message.
It's a party prepared to fight to win power for a third term and for a president seeking a second term.
Now, Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, is calling for public support for a free, fair and transparent election come December. Speaking at the Medina Presby Church on the Commission's preparedness ahead of the December elections, the EC Chair called for an all-hands-on-deck approach to help deal with excesses in the upcoming December polls. Latif Idris has more.
The Bible says that we have a duty to pray for those who are in authority, to pray for leaders and for the peace of the country. And the reason why we must do that is so that we ourselves may lead peaceful and dignified lives. So, if we are not happy with the state of our nation, then my theory is that it is our fault because we have not prayed for the leaders of our nation.
Charlotte Osei asked Ghanaians to give credible information to prevent any attempt by politicians to rig the upcoming elections.
The duty is on all of us. So when a politician comes to tell you that so-and-so is rigging the elections, please ask them how. They need to tell you exactly how. If we know how it can be rigged, then we as the Electoral Commission will have a duty to block it and make sure it doesn't happen. But when you are such an integral part of the process, from the registration of the first person to the announcement of the results, and you tell us elections are not free, elections are not fair, elections are not credible, then you need to tell us how.
She was, however, confident of a successful polls come December 7. She charged Ghanaians to respect the laws of the country and respect the collective will of the people ahead of the December polls.
News Today returns shortly after these messages. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us here on News Today. To some more stories now, and Ghana's job market is choked with thousands of job-seeking graduates from various tertiary institutions across the country. The situation is forcing innovations out of most youth. Now, to encourage self-help, Brian Jones Amwating has, over the past years, been equipping the youth and young adults through the International Youth Empowerment Summit. Well, the second edition of the summit was held in Accra over the weekend. Here's a report on it.
Society sometimes finds it difficult to accept the energy and exposure of the younger generation. This results in the youth isolating themselves, which sometimes makes them fall prey to the exploits of the world and its enticing influence. The IES Summit is therefore an initiative dedicated to the spiritual, intellectual, and emotional growth of young people through proprietary programs, revival summits, and practical opportunities. Speaking at this year's edition of the summit, President of IES, Brian Jones Amwating, admonished participants to be driven and daring enough to achieve their dreams. Presidential candidate for the National Democratic Party, Nana Konadu Agyeman Rawlings, encouraged the youth to believe in and follow their passion.
Don't even dream of the obstacles, because it's not necessary. Dream. Your dream can only begin once you take the action. That action has to be taken. Do something today. Ladies and gentlemen, please do something today. Face your passion, but it all begins with a dream.
Founder and president of Eastwood Anaba Ministries, Reverend Eastwood Anaba, said it is time to disabuse the Ghanaians' mind of the phrase, "It is impossible."
This is Ghana, this is Africa. Where I live is Bogatanga. And everybody will tell you it is not possible. When you do it, you have exposed some people and you have denied them and disarmed them of their excuse to fail. Everyone says it cannot be done in Ghana, it cannot be done in Bogatanga, it cannot be done in Africa. As a black, you cannot do it. As soon as you start doing it, you have disarmed people of their excuses.
He was honored for his contribution towards youth and young adult development. On the sidelines of the program, Brian Jones Amwating assured patrons of a more impactful summit in 2017.
Personally, I want to say a big thank you to Ghana. I do really appreciate it, and I promise you that next year, IS 2017 is going to be much better, bigger. IS, we are ready to empower, to inform, and to inspire the next generation.
IES was formed as a platform for the youth to exhibit their talents to serve the Lord and also to spread the quest to achieve great things whilst one is still a youth.
Now, Ghana's second major oil field, the Chuneboa and Ntome, that's the 10th field, is expected to pour its first oil this week. The field has a 25-year lifespan and production capacity of about 80,000 barrels of oil daily. But it is initially expected to produce an average of 23,000 barrels daily. Now, questions have, however, been raised about the economic dividends the deal could yield to Ghana. But what does this mean for the country's power situation? Well, my colleague George Yafe of Joy Business joins me in the studio now with some answers to these questions and many more. So, George, many thanks for joining us. Really, how significant is this likely to be to our power situation in the country?
Well, you know that one of the major supplier of gas right now is coming from the Jubilee field. But the FPSO had some problems in terms of extraction of crude oil. So there have been some, they've reduced the amount of crude that they're extracting from the seabed. Now, the more oil you extract from the seabed, the more gas you get. They process it, they send it to their turbo processing plant, and they also export it to VRE for them to generate gas. What we understand is that from Talos' point of view, they're going to start exporting gas in commercial quantities to Ghana 12 months from first oil production or from commercial production. So if they have started, or they're going to start this week, it means 12 months from now. But what we understand from Talos is that they are still engaging government to see whether they can quicken the process. But as we speak right now, they are extracting oil or they're extracting gas from the seabed. But what they're doing with that gas is that they're also injecting it because you need some amount of gas to help you with further exploration. And also don't forget that they're also generating their own power on the FPSO John Evans Atamil. So as we speak right now, it will happen maybe later in the year and not now.
Okay. So as things stand now, we are not going to have immediate benefits from this.
If you talk about power generation, exactly, it won't be now. But in terms of when they start exporting crude oil, the economists will say all other things being equal, maybe next week they could start exporting crude oil out of the country from the 10th field. And that community could start getting some money, especially first to Talu. Don't forget, Talu has been going through a lot of problems when it comes to its revenue and profits. If their fortunes should improve from next month, it could mean that they could start paying taxes or paying more taxes to the state. Because as we speak right now, we understand that if their expenses should go up, that would impact on taxes they pay. Make profits and pay profits or pay taxes on your profits. So it has an immediate benefit for Talu Oil, which has been going through a lot of problems, and even going forward for the country in terms of revenue, overall revenue from the 10th field, which many of the economists, the IMF, World Bank, are all banking their hopes on to turn around the economy from next year.
Right. Okay, we'll see how this goes. George, many thanks for that update. And that's my colleague George Yafe is with Joy Business. We'll be bringing you a lot more on this on the marketplace later today at 1. But meanwhile, the country could continue enjoying some stable power supply, at least for the next few weeks. This is because the Ghana Grid Company says it is producing in excess of 110 megawatts. Chief Executive William Mamuna has been speaking with my colleague Beatrice Edu on this.
And it's about 1,800 now, currently.
Is it off-peak or during peak hours?
Peak is 1,800 and off-peak is about 1,006, 1,007. Of course, the weather is also part of the reasons why the demand has gone down. And we are actually able to meet demand. And we have some excess.
You have excess?
Yes, we have some excess. Some of the generators, for instance, Asogli is not working now. And if it comes on stream, it means that we still have a lot more power. But apart from that, sometimes we don't run all the generators. And the most important thing is that we still maintain 3 generators in Akosombo. We've not increased the number of generators in Akosombo, although the rains have set in. We still maintain the 3 generators in Akosombo.
You're talking about excess. How much excess do we have?
Currently, sometimes we have 1 whole unit in excess.
And so that produces how much?
That's about 110 megawatts.
10 megawatts?
110 megawatts.
110 megawatts. And we've had that for how long?
Since 29th of July.
Since 29th of July?
When we stopped shedding load.
It means that since 29th of July, there's not been any load shedding? There has not been any
load shedding at all, at all. Of course, occasionally you could have an area going off due to a local fault. I don't want to use the word localized, which has become so popular, but I mean, within the vicinity, you could have power going off. Occasionally, you could have an area going off, but on the whole, there's no load shedding at all in Ghana.
I'll bring you more on that very interview with Mr. William Mamuna on our news and news analysis program, The Pulse, which is at 3 p.m. right here on your Joy News channel. Now, the Forum of Heads of Girls Senior High Schools in Ghana is calling for a review of issues affecting women. President of the association, Mary Jokoto, is unhappy with the slow pace in the implementation of policies geared towards the development of women. Mary Jokoto is worried about the underrepresentation of women in key decision-making sectors, especially education. Join us, Kwesi Debra reports.
Mrs. Jokoto was speaking at the summer camp of the Forum of Heads of Girls Senior High Schools at Ntonsil in the Ashanti region. It was under the theme, Rethinking My Gender for Effective Contribution. Selected students from girls' schools nationwide converged for the event to undergo various mentorship activities, including application of technology.
Yes, I'm sure that gender issues have been raised over decades. But we think that looking at the rate at which certain things are being implemented, we need to quickly rethink the gender issue and see if there's something more that can motivate us and spur us on to get our gender redefined for effective contribution. We know that over the last 2 decades, a lot of technological advances have come, all emphasizing the fact that we don't think in the anatomy of the woman's brain and that of a man, there's much difference. So why is it that in decision-making positions, still we are struggling?
Some of the participants who spoke to Joy News want a change in gender policies to enable them discover and develop their potentials.
It's more schools for girls only, and then encourage the girls to venture into technical career opportunities rather than the theory aspect that we find most of our girls venturing into. And then they should encourage the girls, and then the educational system should be more practical instead of the theory, because we should get some students getting into the technology world rather than the other aspects. Because we do is to provide more platforms or more organization that will help us to voice out our opinions and know what we are expected to do.
Provide more platforms like this one so that girls will be educated on our rights and also to rethink our agenda to contribute effectively to our country.
Stigma against girls because we are in the boarding school. They feel like we are always practicing lesbianism. So we pray that the government should do something like providing recreational facilities so that we will be always like
For Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
You're watching news today here on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. The business team is standing by with some more. Stay on.
And now time for some business. In our first story, ratings agency Moody's says it could be forced to downgrade Ghana's creditworthiness if drastic measures are not taken to control the country's rising debt. The agency gave this warning in its latest report on the country's credit rating. George Afi has more in this report.
Moody's in the report cites the upcoming elections as one of the major drivers that could lead to government's expenditure hitting the roof. The agency was also worried that if the current decline with commodity prices should continue, that could bring some serious pressure on government's revenue, which could badly affect its finances. Moody's was, however, quick to add that if drastic measures are taken to control the country's rising public debts and an improved foreign exchange reserves, then an upgrade to a favorable position is possible. Ghana currently has ratings of B3 with a negative outlook, which is more of a warning to anyone who engages in a financial transaction with government that the country could have some challenges in paying back the debts on time. So a downgrade could move Ghana into a junk status, a development that could increase the country's cost of borrowing and even businesses, whilst individuals you could be asked to pay more in taxes to make up for this challenge. However, there are some analysts that have taken the verdict of these rating agencies with a pinch of salt, especially when government has never defaulted on its debts.
And finally, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Alex Mould, has assured management and staff of the Tema Oil Refinery tour of crude oil supplies from the Tunebua and Urantomi and the 10 project, but on condition the refinery will be in a position to pay for all allocations supplied. The project, which is Ghana's oil field, is expected to pump its first oil next week as engineers finalize work on the FPSO Atta Mills to pave way for the commencement of oil production. Speaking with Joy Business, Mr. Mould said the refinery would be allocated significant volumes of crude from the 10 partners once all the required processes are completed.
I think we're getting a fair deal, and you should understand that Jubilee was our first field. So every single petroleum agreement that has been signed thereafter, there is an improvement in every single petroleum agreement we signed. An improvement in the initial interest, what we call the carry. We don't pay till production. And then we also have a participating interest where we actually pay for it once the development begins. As you know, we spent almost about $1 billion in pre-development, and we spent about $3 billion in development of this field. So a total cost of $4 billion we were carried for most of it, but part of it we have put a participating investment in it, which is about 5%. And that is why we have 15% in this particular, and we have 13.75 with the Jubilee field. Thereafter, there are agreements where we've signed where GNPC, the government interest is greater than 15%, 17.5% and 20%. But like I said, you should always look at what is the take on the barrel. How much of the revenue from the barrel comes to Ghana?
So that was Alex Mould from the GNPC. We'll be exploring this particular issue further on the marketplace between 1:30 to the effect that he's saying that they can only supply crude oil to the Tema Oil Refinery if and only if they can raise enough guarantee to pay for that. But the point is the Tema Oil Refinery ready to really pick crude domestically, even though we know now they're doing well? And also we're picking some signals from the Tema port to the effect that a lot of increases in charges that will be following up on that for you on the marketplace. So we do have a lot of business activities going on here, and then between 1 and 1:30 we're going to give you more on that. So my name is John Kojo Amuako. Coming up next is your sports.
Well, we talk sports here on News Today. My name is Benedict Owusu, and Asante Kotoko coach Michael Osei is delighted with the side's transformation in the ongoing Ghana Premier League. Now, Kotoko, after enduring some torrid moments in the second round of the league, have recorded back-to-back wins which have seen them move to 4th on the log, just 2 points separating them and leaders All Stars. Now, Osei reckons the need to work harder.
There are times there will be challenges, and then we always have to focus and then work very hard. I think my boys have done very well today. They were very disciplined in our tactical play. They were determined. So I think we need to continue working very hard and make sure that the immediate game or the next games who's coming, we can get the good results too, like today.
We are getting to the end of the season. Looking at the number of matches left, you feel you have the chance to win the league?
I think we are still on the race, so we need to work very hard. We need to focus and then make sure that at the end we get a good position on the league table.
So that was Kumasi Asante Kotoko coach Michael Osei. And pressure is mounting on Liberty Professionals coach George Lamte following their recent slump in form. Now they have now dropped to 9th on the table with 30 points, and some have said the coach is not fit for the job, but the veteran says he fits the bill despite their current woes.
No, I didn't say my job was on line. My job is never on line. I'm doing very, very well. My job is never on line.
But results are not coming.
Yeah, results are not coming. We're playing very well, but results are not coming. So I need to motivate my players, bring them up, then we start winning.
You judge a good coach by results. So if results are not coming, why don't you say you're doing well?
Yeah, sometimes you judge every coach by results. Sometimes you need to look at the performance of the team too. You may be playing so well and may be losing. Yeah, sometimes that's it.
That's it. My name is Benedict Owusu. Enjoy the rest of the news after this short break.
Good afternoon and welcome to the entertainment segment here on Joy News Today. Now, South African tourism has applauded Ghana's visa on arrival policy, saying it is essential to boosting tourism in the country and Africa generally.
Africa's leading tourism agency believes that Ghana's decision makes it easier for people to travel and enjoy other countries' tourist attractions without having to endure the bottleneck of visa acquisition. Ghana in July this year started piloting a visa on arrival policy for citizens of all the 54 AU member countries. President John Mahama announced in his State of the Nation address in February this year that Ghana will implement a visa on arrival policy. Ghana currently offers visa-free entry for citizens of 15 countries within the Economic Community of West African States region. Evelyn Malaba, Regional Director of South African Tourism, speaking in an interview with Joy News, urged other countries to emulate Ghana's policy because it makes movement of people, including tourists, easy.
It actually makes everything easy. You know that you have to follow the particular rules, but you don't have to wait for long to get approval for your visa. So it actually makes business-to-business movement of people a whole lot easier. And those are the items that are needed in growing tourism.
She was speaking at the 2016 South African Tourism West Africa Trade Roadshow at the Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel in Accra last Friday. Ms. Malaba noted that several factors hamper the growth of tourism on the continent, citing visa acquisition as a key challenge. She called on African countries to change perceptions of each other and form strong bonds to be able to attract tourists from across the world. Honey Picho, Regional Manager, South African Tourism, speaking on the importance of the roadshow, told Joy News that it establishes relationship between the Ghanaian tour operators and the South African tourism product owners.
Important and it's critical because it establishes relationships between the Ghanaian tour operators as well as the South African tourism product owners, such as hotels, inbound tour operators, airlines. So it's very important that the two meet because when the Ghanaian tour operators send clients to South Africa, they need to know the product and understand what it is that they have to offer.
The Accra Road Show was preceded by a similar event in Kumasi for tourism stakeholders at the Golden Tulip Hotel in Kumasi.
Let's talk about some of the performances from some musicians at the NDC campaign launch in Cape Coast. The likes of legendary musicians Amanzaba and Amachidede thrilled patrons at the event.
Whoa! Whoa!
Let's talk about some weddings now. Former Ghanaian Big Brother Africa housemate briefly turned a musician and changed her stage name from Mimi Divalish to Mimi Adani has gotten married to her longtime boyfriend Nana Michaels. The couple kept it wholly traditional with what they wore themed around northern Ghana's culture, Mimi's place of origin. Now, veteran Ghanaian actress Grace Omabo and a few others attended the ceremony to wish the couple well. That's it for entertainment here on Joy News Today. My name is Becky. Enjoy the rest of our programs.
Well, that'll be it for Joy News Today. My name is Kwabna Chenche. Remember, there's always more news when you visit www.myjoyonline.com. The business team is up next with the marketplace. Many thanks for your company.